Alright, scissor replacement. Down here, machine's at 0, clear all the pins off. Nice and simple. Got some Allen wrenches. One of these short 15/16 we got hanging up. Shorter make it easier, but you could use a long one if you really want to. New scissor, of course. And a nice long flathead screwdriver in case things go bad. Rag, some oil, and a new bolt that I put some thread lock on so it doesn't come out. This is nice and easy. 9-pin up here. You're gonna see, if you look up here, the joint where your scissor is, you can see that little hexagonal stud right there. And that's what your 15/16 wrench is gonna go on. You're also gonna see this little link here that well, that's what opens, closes your scissor. So it's gonna be this piece right here. So when it gets pulled and pushed, it opens the scissor. There's another bolt on there. You need an Allen key to get off. But the first step, take your Allen wrench, take your 15/16, go up there and find that hexagonal stud and start to loosen it. And now that's loosened on that side, so you don't strip your Allen, because if you strip this Allen bolt, you're gonna be having a bad day. Loosen it from the other side. Now it's loose. You can take it all the way off, just like that. So now that bolt's loose, this is gonna wiggle around. Right? It's free. That means you're gonna have to make sure you wiggle it around, because you want something to happen here. You want to spin this link around. So when it's in the machine, that that Allen should be facing the rear of the machine. And out of it, this is free to move. You rotate it around 180 so that Allen's facing the front now. Take your Allen, and just like that, you can undo it. So that's nice and loose. So at that point, there's a pin that drops down through here. And actually, I find the easiest to be to take the end of the Allen wrench here, and you sort of wedge it in there like that. Wedge it in there, and you can just turn the Allen wrench. Turn the Allen wrench, and it should just pop right out like that. You can see that pin popped up. Now it's loose. So, that's loose. Slide this out. Before I do this, you want to make sure there's going to be a spacer pops out here. Looks like it already fell off. And that's your broken scissor. Put that back in the bag. We're going to be done with it. And left up here is this little spacer right here. That's very important. Now, it's a bit dirty, so I brought a spare from the shop. Don't need to, but I like to. Just to make sure it's completely clean, not worn, all those good things. Just with the rag, I want to wipe it down up there because the scissor's going to be rotating on there. Make sure it's nice and clean, it's not going to get bound up. Obviously it's not nice and clean, it never is. So, give that a wipe all up there. Yep, nice and clean. Just taking a look up there. You can see that's where it's going to rotate. So, That's all empty now. Nice and clean. So, now the fun part is you want to make sure I usually go through and I'll oil it just a little bit. So, just heavier oil, a couple of drops on there, a couple of drops on there on the bottom of these bushings. Spread it around a little bit, make sure it's even, get the inside. The inside is probably the most important. And then the spacer as well, because it's going to end up happening. The spacer is going to go right on the bottom here. And actually I need the stud off the old scissor. I didn't bring a spare one of those, so you can take this hexagonal stud out of the old scissor. That's what it looks like. And give it a wipe. Make sure there's not a lot of gunk on there. Just wipe down the old stud, make sure it's clean, ready to rotate freely. You want to clean out the threads if you can. You want to clean out the threads if you can. Just make sure that's nice and clean. And eventually, this is going to go through there. So really, this is the bottom of the scissor. So when it's all together, it's going to sit like that. This is going to go down through it. Just like that. Oh, don't pop out your bushing. That's what we would call bad. So that's going to go down through there. That's going to go down to the next one. So it's going to be just like that. And this spacer is going to go on the bottom here. Just like that. So that's what it'll look like when it's all said and done. So, anyway, all that to say, you're gonna drop some oil on there, you wanna drop some oil on your spacer. That's gonna be against the deck. Just like that. Something to that effect. Now, the hard part. Really the only hard part, putting this back in. Because, especially when you only have one end, now you can drop the spacer up in there if it helps you put in. But you want to make sure that stud doesn't fall out. That'll make your life harder. There you go, just like that. So we're gonna drop it up there. Now, try to make sure you don't lose that spacer. This is actually pretty hard with one hand. So, maybe you could do it like that. Put the front in first. Maybe not. Yeah, so you can drop the stud up there, or the spacer up there. Just slide down. Make sure you can see that. Make sure you drop your spacer on there. And you get the idea. Slide it up there, get your spacer in place. Make sure you don't lose it. Right. Click was the spacer sliding into place. So, new one's up there. You can see your control link there. I forget what it's called, but so this is facing back up front, just like when you took it out. Right, so you want to set that up, and then twist yourself around. See that pin sticking out there? Go push it. Whoop. Straight down into this little collar here, if you can see that. So push it down. Squeeze it. And so get some light on that. Just like that. And push that pin down into the hole there. And that's what it'll look like when you're done. So just drop that pin through the hole in the hole there. The Allen. You're gonna want to come over here. Come over here and block with the light. Tighten it. Tighten that Allen while it's facing towards you, so it's nice and easy. Doesn't need to be super tight. Just snug enough to hold onto the pin. Realistically, none of these pins are ever gonna slide out because the machines are old and rusty. But if everything were perfect, they probably could. But all that's doing, these pins don't rotate. They just link it to this shaft here. So all that Allen wrench is doing is making sure that pin doesn't slide out, which they won't ever anyway. But Allen still needs to be tight. So once you have that tightened, you can just sort of rotate this around so that it faces the back again. It's easier the more times you do it, of course. And then once that's done, you just sort of figure out a way to get that spacer under there. It doesn't really matter how you do it. Get myself around here. It might be easier to, for example, sit here and look up through this hole, and you can sort of line it up like that, and then just line it up. So you can see it's not super easy stuff. Oh, and my scissors. Put some line down here, make sure it's up top, of course. That's probably why it was so hard. Yeah, so then, just like that. Anyway, you get the idea. Line everything up. Just like that. Make sure you're squared away there. And then, once that's done, you go up there, double check your link is facing the right way, and it is. And that's all squared away there. Your spacer underneath. So then all that's left is take your bolt down here and maybe even wipe off the hole a little bit. This countersink. You can give it a wipe. Make sure there's not any gunk up there. And put your bolt back in. Now obviously it's going to be a little bit tougher to hold because it's supposed to spin up there. So but yeah, you just tighten it up. And I'm gonna have to hold it. Just like that, tighten it up. And after you tighten it up, should be nice and free. Although it looks like this one's contacting the bottom as well. I'll show you, I can tell that if you wiggle it for a couple of times. You can see on this side, there's a bunch of marks right there. Right there at the original. Let me rub it back and forth. And you can see, oh look, there's a wear mark right there. See that? If I can really properly show you what that would look like to the human eye, but anyway, you can see this mark here. And that's how I know it's rubbing against the bottom of the deck. Scissor deck. It isn't ideal, but for the time being, I think it'll be okay. So, anyway, get that all squared away. And yeah, tighten that up a little bit more, if it will. Give it a nice gronk. Make sure that's not going to move when you wiggle it, because it was rotating when I wiggled it. Now it's not. And then the best thing to do probably is take this wrench again, go up there and give it a tighten from that side. You'll make sure these don't ever come out. If these ever come out, you're going to have big problems, obviously. So, tough to get on there, but you just sort of, I don't know, figure that out, and then damn, maybe that's as tight as it's gonna get. Enough. Yeah, these things are kind of a pain. Get up there. Let's show you up here. There we go. So yeah, I'm just putting it on the hexagonal. And then usually do a box end one too. Maybe easier, but I prefer this one. Anyway, normally you can slap it on there, get it tight. There you go. Well, this one doesn't want to stay on. Anyway, I guess that means it's tight. So, that's all that. Turn the machine on, run it through a few cycles, You can stick your head through the curtain back here and sort of see if it's moving like it should be. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So, yep, there you go.